Yep. So it's not convince,
Okay.
it's show. I don't try to convince anyone in my life to do anything. I show people what I'm doing. I show investors what I'm doing, and I create. What the first step is. An investor is going to look at who Steve Lloyd is. The second one is what they're going to invest in. The third is about how they're going to get their money back. There are the three things: who I am, what I'm investing in, and how I'm going to get their money back. They're the three components to raising capital. So if I just take a typical deal back 13 years ago, I create equity. I don't buy. What I mean by that, I would find a distressed asset. This is why I haven't been buying for the past year, because there was very few distressed assets. They were expensive. So back then, I would just take a regular single family home, and I always needed to know my after repair value. Okay, because the win is at the end of the game. It is part of the buy in the beginning. But what I needed to do is, let's just take let's go to a typical Temple property that I would do. I know on a Temple property, I have to remember my numbers, that I could get a shell at Temple University for about $130,000. So I could buy that shell for 130, and I knew that I'd have to put about 200, little less, about $170,000 in that property to make that property at the end result appraised for about 450,000. So between the purchase and the rehab, I was falling into about 450. No, I'm sorry, 315 to 320. And this is why I needed to know that at those properties on a duplex with 8 bedrooms at Temple, that would, when I was finished that project, if I had all my students in there with leases and the parents co-sign, I know that property was going to be worth about 450,000. So I would have my private investor come in, and it'd probably be, maybe back then it might have been 1 or 2 people. I'd pay them a rate of return, interest only, with either their regular money, or predominantly I taught people how to use self-directed IRAs, but we can talk about that later. So I would bring in the funding, but I would secure them just like a normal bank would. I just wouldn't take their money. So there might be whoever had more money to give me on that deal would either be first position note, whoever had more money on the deal, and then a second position note. I wouldn't put 3 people on there, just 1 or 2. And then they gave me the money to purchase the project and to rehab the project. So at the end of the day, with the interest, it usually went up to about, what I was into the property for was about 338 to 342,000. Well, if you take what 75% loan to value is, when I would want to refi those tenants out, and it's no, not the tenants, refi my investors out, it's very important that you put them secured liens to the property, not only for their security, but when the bank comes in to refi the property, they want to see the debt on the property, and it looks better when the loans are secured, because they know they're refining $340,000, or somewhere in that range. So I would get the house appraised. It was Conestoga Bank that I was using back then, and they're gone now. They've been bought out by other banks, so they merged. So the appraisal would come in at 450. Well, what's 75? I still remember what's 75% loan to value. I can tell you it's 338.5. Am I close?
Yes.
So now I had my
337.5. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. 337.5.
Okay, I was off by 1,000. Don't ever call me out again. So we were within $1,000. I'm only kidding with you, brother. So 337.5. But did you see what I did? I owed my investors 337.5. The bank would give me 75% loan to value on the appraised value, which was $450,000. So they would give me a loan for 337.5. And then I'm in a deal with no money out of my pocket. And after I did my first one, what creates wealth? Wealth is created by duplication. And all I did was go to the next project, and I did it. I went to the next project, and as I grew, my new investors that I was using on my first 2 or 3 projects, I would go, hey, did I do everything I said I was going to do? Is there anything that you would like me to do better? And every once in a while said, well, you had my money for 6 months. I got it back. I really want you to have my money for a longer time. So sometimes I would pay them back in 6 months. This sounds but I would continue to pay them interest for the next 2 months until I put them on another deal, so they didn't have any a lull between getting paid again. So, you have to make your investor happy, and to create a win-win. Look, they had the money for me, but some of them still wanted to continue to be paid. So look, even if that cost me $3,000, I kind of just factored that into the next deal where I had to make that up. But that's why my investors started to follow me and my base of investors. So I would go to, after I've done the project, I'm said, would you like to go in another deal? Yes. Do you have 2 or 3 people that might want to invest with me like you did if you're so happy? Now, would they give me 3 people? No, but people are busy, right? I mean, they're just busy. But I would really try to get at least 1. So if they gave me 1 or 2 or 3, at least I got to sit down with 1. And if that one person told me, this is why I love network marketing. If that person told me no, it was okay, but I know that they were going to probably watch and see what I do as my career as a real estate investor grew. And I can't tell you how many people said no to me and then a year or 2 later said, I'm ready to go. You have to understand that when people go from investing in the stock market or regular investments to alternative investments, that's something new to them. They've never done that before. It's our job. If someone doesn't lend me money, it's my fault. I blame it on me because I didn't educate them enough to have a good enough feeling to lend me their money. So it's about taking responsibility and creating your own playbook of how walking them down the road of what you're going to do with their money. And if I could, I remember I had a flip chart, literally a flip chart. I would sit with an investor. They would sit next to me and go, okay, this is what I'm buying and this is why I'm buying. Okay, this is the purchase price and this is the rehab price. And we're going to get this thing rented up. And I'm going to put students in there when we're done. I'm going to continue to pay once I need it like 4 or 5 months to rehab that property. When the students start paying, that confirms, that I'm going to continue to pay your interest. But then how I'm going to pay you back is I'm going to go to a local bank and do a refi, and then I'm going to pay you back, and then we're going to go on to the next project. I had to clearly explain that to them so they understood. One tip that I can give you is once you start to learn this process, okay, if I can teach people this process, it's your job to master it before you take somebody's money because it's so important. Look where I am today. It took me from my first investor of $40,000 to well over $100 million. So over the next, I called every single investor I have over the past 3 months and, hey, how you doing? I didn't ask one person for money. It wasn't about that. But I was offered to me almost $4 million for 4 to 6 months from now because they want to go into a discounted market, right? They're like, we know the distressed assets are coming and they want to be part of it. So it's that makes me feel good when people want to be doing what I'm doing. And, back then I used to give them a statement every month. I would pay every single month. So some people pay quarterly or at the end of the deal. I don't. And do you want to know why?
I'm actually very curious about
You play on a high level. So if someone gives me money, they get a statement at the end of the month telling me how much they gave me. And then on the right side is how much I'm paying them a month. Because as those months add up, they can see exactly how much they made with me, right? So if I give them $2,000 a month, 8 months later, they can see I highlighted in red that they made $18,000. That's a key to pay people every single month, because if a person comes into me for the first time and I don't pay them to the end of the project 6 or 8 months later, they didn't get any money. They're not going to give me more money if I never paid them, right? But if I pay them the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, the fifth month, I might not have another deal. And then, you know what? Steve's paid me 5 months in a row. How's this deal going, Steve? It's going great. All right, well, I got another extra 100 grand before that deal's even done. So I think it's very important for you to factor in your numbers on your purchase, your rehab, and your cost of capital paying on a monthly basis. People love to get paid, right? They want that check. And we went to an ACH system to pay. Well, we have a whole software program now, but back then it was something that I thought that we should do. And, you know, we gave them a statement at the other month, but there's the number one thing you need to do. Number one, pay people on time. When people wake up on the first of the month, they should be able to go to their bank account, bring up their bank account, and see a deposit from the 31st of the previous month. So we hit all our ACHs not too early. You don't want to pay them 7 days early because then they'll always expect it. But we hit that ACH on like the 29th. It gets in there the next day on the 30th. But when they wake up on January 1st, the money's in the account. And I'm telling you, you can never be late. And I'll explain why. So remember, they're my marketing arm, right? So if we'll use Harry. If Harry is my investor and he's getting paid and I miss a payment, or not only miss a payment, I pay him on January 10th, and then he's my referral, right? He's my marketing arm. He's talking to Bill, hey, has Steve Lloyd ever been late? One time, you're done. Has Steve Lloyd ever been late? Nope. When I wake up on the 1st, my payment's in there. He's never been late. I can't believe, look, I have investors out there that I've lent money to, guys that I know, and they pay me late, right? I get my check on the 12th and the 10th, and I call them up. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I gave you money. We have basically a contract. We have a note and a mortgage that you're paying me on the 1st. It doesn't say in there, pay me on the 7th, pay me on the 1st. I expect my money on the 1st.
Maybe whenever you feel like it.
Is there questions on what I was just talking about?